Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m. April 20th. Welcome to my channel. Now, of course, the weekend. Oh, the weekend. Ceasefires have been ripped up. Strait of Hormuz is not open. Crude is up 5.28%. Markets were down more. So, I think the deadline's up tomorrow. Again, we really don't have to go into the politics because it doesn't matter, right? We got to follow price. So, that's all we can do. Okay. You could just tell from this news, which is not good news. Yeah, I mean, we're down a little bit. I don't think this is stopping anything right now. Markets knew the deal wasn't over, not fully. So we'll have to see. Right? That's all we can do. Now, earnings season is upon us since last week. More stocks that are important to the market will be reporting this week. So let's see. Let's see. I had a beautiful trade, a nice long. After that big gap, it was literally like taking candy from a baby. I mean, that was a beautiful setup. So I finished the week with three trades over 2R, and I'm not going to complain about that. Okay, hopefully that continues. Who knows? But that's definitely a nice way to end the week. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. I use market profile and buying profile to find structure in the market, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's how I come up with game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my bread and butter, my market internals. I use my weekly expected move indicator you get for free on my Discord. Anchor VWAPs, a little ICT smart money thrown in there. Basically my own style, be honest with you. Okay. Now, I do this every morning. Hopefully you join me. Subscribe, set that alert. Give you the market story, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, technical analysis, and I give you the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures later on in the stream. Now, you want more in-depth coverage? You're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay? Let me be your indicator. Now, on my Discord, just real quick, just to show you guys what you get. Okay? So after my stream's done, you get all my scenarios. Now, last week, I didn't really hit many scenarios. They were like partial hit because the market was nuts. The market did not move normally. It set a record. Okay? So it did not move normally, which I'm not upset about. It's just the way it is. I still made money last week. So that's what you get pre-market. All right, now this morning, I already gave you my weekly expected move for the week for Thinkorswim. Put that on your chart. 70% of the time, the market's closed within inside those ranges. Okay, feel free to download that for free. Okay, now every morning, also, once that market opens, I give you the gamma flip points, the weekly and the monthly gamma flip points. All right, very, very key pivot levels in the markets. You'll see them, put them on your charts. Okay. Now, every morning after my pre-market, I give what's called a daily receipt, and you can see they're time stamped throughout the day what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing in the markets. Okay, you can see Friday, bullish, and I took a trade prior to me usually filling this out. And then every week, if you want to see my scenarios, you can go to my performance recap channel. You can see at the end of the week my trades, what was my return. Seeing that last week, no scenario played out, but I still ended up the week almost up 3R. Okay, so that is that. Now, we're going to go right into futures watch list now. Let's do it. VIX is up 10.40%. We're up to a 19.30 fix. Crude up 5.48%. We're back to $87 a barrel. 10-year yield is up 0.31. Dollars up 0.20. 30-year bonds being sold. Okay. Down 0.16. And Nasdaq's down 0.44. ES down 0.45. Dow's down 0.48. Russell down 0.82. Gold down over 1%. Silver down over 2.5%. Bitcoin holding 75K down 2.80%. Ethereum down almost 5%. All right, Mag 7 Plus here. Okay, Apple is just flat. Let's get down to over half percenters. GE down 0.5%, AMD down over 0.5%, Tesla's down 0.60, Microsoft down 0.68, Google down 0.77, Amazon down 0.84, Meta's down 0.88, Nvidia down 0.91, Broadcom down 1.58, and Coinbase is their laggard, the Bitcoin proxy. Top sectors: Chevron and Exxon leading the pack. That's not a surprise. PepsiCo, that's not much. It's flat. Over 50%ers. Disney's down at over 0.5%. GV Vernova reports earnings this week. They are down 0.57. Goldman Sachs 0.64. Palantir down 0.89. Oracle down almost 1%. Uber down 1.15%. And NEM, the mining stock, down 1.5%. Okay. Sectors, no surprise here. XLE almost up 1%. Everything else is down. Your laggards is financials, down 0.42. Semis down 0.43. Technology down 0.45. And discretionary is down over 0.5%. And we're very light on data this week. Okay, let's move over to that. There's nothing shocking coming out in the markets this week. Today, we don't even have much. If I put it down to a 1-star, 3-month and 6-bill auction, that's really not much. Okay. Let's see, going to the week. Fed Waller speaks. What else here? Michigan consumer sentiment, maybe on Friday, but there's really nothing. Really nothing. All right, before we go into that, let's go into earnings. So we have earnings continuing this week. Now, this morning, Cleveland Cliffs, that's steel, reported. After the close, Alaska Airlines, let's see, anybody else? So, a few notables here. United Healthcare is going to report. GE, Raytheon, so there's some defensive. Raytheon, 3M, DR Horton, Home Builder, Halliburton Defense, right, Intuitive Surgical, United Capital One, Vertiv, I'm a proud owner of Vertiv, data center buildouts, same with GE, Vernova, the energy, Boeing, AT&T, Boston Scientific, Philip Morris, CME Group, who else? Sands, Southwest, Texas Instruments, Lam Research, Semis, IBM, ServiceNow, SAS, okay, that's the SAS software stock, Tesla. So after the close on Wednesday is Tesla. Who else do we have? American Express, American Airlines, Intel, Intel after the close on Thursday. Then some staples, Procter and Gamble, some communications, Charter Communications. That's about it. Okay, that's your earnings. Let's go into financial juice to see if there's anything here. There's a Warsh confirming hearing for, I guess, the Fed at 10 a.m. And we all know that these ceasefires are violated. So the sticking point, it says here, is Pakistani security source. Pakistan Army Chief Munir spoke to Trump, told him Hormuz blockade is the hurdle to talks. All right, look at Trump's schedule here. Let's just refresh this. There's not much to see here. Okay, I don't see anything that's there. Let's see if there's any kind of stock. Nope. All right, let's move on to news. Ceasefire risk after U.S. seizes Iranian ship. Iran shuns peace talks. All right, Fed nominee Warsh prepares for monetary policy road test before Senate panel. Tesla's energy storage division to pick up slack as car margins drop and credits fade. U.S. Supreme Court considers SEC's disgorgement power. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Looks like IBM, Jeffries cuts target price to 220 from 370. Tesla, Jeffries raises target price to 350 from 300. Ulta Beauty, Jeffrey raises target price to 700 from 635. Alrighty. I think we're done there. All right, let's get on. Let's move on to it. Let's get on to those market internals, which were just very strong. Very strong. Okay, everything was green, but tech was not the leader. Looks like Staples, interesting. Staples was energy on Friday. Okay, so just really beefy internals. You can see how positive they were. Okay, I literally got long, literally, like this is not futures. I'd have to show you futures, but 71.21 was my entry. This is SPX, so it's not going to match futures price to price, but I got on this sweep of low day. That's where I got long. Okay, internally it just was beefy. It really was bullish. So once we opened up, I'll show you this here. Once we opened up, right? We opened up right here. That overnight high was just in my sights. Now, when I went long, right close to the open, when we pulled back, I was originally targeting the overnight highs, which would have hit. I still got, like I said, a 2.32R, but that would have been a nice one to hold for that. But I wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth and have it go all the way back to my entry if it wasn't going to happen. Okay? So you can see our markets right now. We're inside. We're at the lower third of the Friday's range. Okay? We were all the way down here. So the market has recovered. Like I said, there's so much bullish momentum right now. I think the market still might have maybe even expected this. Now look, we're pricing it in now. So we'll have to see. Okay? Let's go to daily charts now. Here's your daily charts. You can see we just moved straight up. Unbelievable move. The fastest move recovery since 40 years. Okay, this is just ridiculous. And now where are we now? Right? Where are we now? Made a new all-time highs on Friday. 707.10. So we'll zoom in a little here. 707.10 brings us to the lower third of Friday. Like I was just saying. Okay. Now remember, we have no resistance. Well, I mean, I guess you could say Friday's highs is resistance, I guess, but we really don't have much there. All right, let's look at futures. So you can see prices right here. Now, in the whole session, you're at the 50%. Okay, that's the whole session. It's 23 hours. So you just see there's nothing to the left. So let's see what we do here. This might look like a day we might range. It's Monday also. Okay. Qs. Qs finally in futures took the all-time highs out. You can see just bullish, right? Where are we now? 640, 605, 646. 646, lower third of Friday session. Let's get into futures here. Okay, you can see last week's highs is right there. Okay. And we do have a daily demand right here. Did I not notice that in the ES? Yeah, I guess I didn't notice that. So right here, you got like a demand zone right there. That's a daily demand. Look how it just peaked its little wick in there and whoop. So daily demand zone right there. Start about 26571. 26571 daily demand. Okay. Let's go to the ES. Let's see if that's there. I don't know why I didn't really notice that. Yep, you got it here too. So that's going to start at 7089 daily demand zone. And you can see as well, look to my cursor. Let's just put it on here. Let's just skip right here. Boop, boop. Right there. See how we just pulled into it? Whoop. Got bought up. So Might as well just keep that on my chart, right? So just be aware of that. That's pretty powerful daily demand. So that's what I'm saying. We already pushed into it, already got support. We might just move sideways today. Okay, let's look at the breadth. This is percentage stocks over the 50-day moving average. It increased. It increased on Friday. That was more of a broad market buy on Friday. But let's just round it off. 60% of stocks over the 50-day moving average. That is improvement. Okay, let's look at that equal weighted RSP. Remember, that did not hit all-time highs yet. Still not there, but we almost were creeping up. That's why the overall market was getting bought on Friday. We still not at all-time highs yet. Okay. Now, moving on. Hourly charts here. Let me get my marker out. Now, I think they call this in ICT a new week opening gap. I believe they call that. Let's hourly charts now. I'll open up my marker. Generally, those new week opening gaps get filled. So we'll talk about that. Okay. Okay. So you can see new week opening gap. We opened right here. Right? And then boom, pushed all the way down to where? A major demand zone, right? Remember I said there's a daily demand there. I think this is like a 12-hour. So I don't like to put daily on these little charts because they can be huge. But that's what it came into, right? And then that's the gap. That's the gap from Friday. Now, on a 1 hour, if you don't look at real-time trading hours in overnights, you can look like we filled that gap, right? But technically, you don't. This gap is not filled until the real-time trading hours, which would be a black highlighted candlesticks right here in the black. Okay. So, actually, I don't know why I didn't mark this off. So the new week opening gap, we'll just put a little level right there. Okay, around 71.50. So we'll have to see. All right. So since then, we've just been kind of pushing higher. You can see it. Boom. Consolidating, pushed a little higher, consolidating. Who knows? I just think, my opinion, that we have a lot of momentum, and we've already knew about this war. We already knew that it's not like settled. I know we had positive news that the Strait of Hormuz was open on Friday. I understand that, but I don't think anybody thought, oh, this is over. Okay, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So in this hourly chart, right? So we gap down. Now we have a gap here. We might possibly push right up into there and do this today. Because I don't think anybody knows what the hell's going on. Right? I don't think anybody knows what's going on yet. So it's pretty easy today. Right? You kind of put a stake in the ground here of like, all right, let's price in this little ceasefire violation, and now the market doesn't know what it wants to do. Okay, and so you have to look at it. So 71.50 to probably 7100 is the playground today. Unless there's something that comes out and says, Iran is never wants a deal or something like that. Might get a little weakness. Well, you can see, remember, this is my 12-hour demand, but this is probably the daily demand, all of this. Okay. A lot of consolidation pushed up. Now you have more consolidation. All right. Let's move on here. The Nasdaq's probably going to look very similar. Okay. Let me mark off this as well. I almost filled it already. That almost did its job already. Okay. Now it looks like so far the Nasdaq actually moved its most traded price up here. That is bullish. Okay. That price is around 26827s. Okay, so it's pretty substantial that it moved its most traded price of the week up there as well. Same thing. We kind of came down here and went through this gap that was existing here. Okay, but since it's almost pretty much, you know, filled that. So interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So I think the name of the game today, we might move up into the 268s here. Who knows? And down to probably here on the 265s. That could be the range today. Like I said, it just screams indecision to me. We're not down here, right? We bounced and now we're moving up, melting up. So market's telling me that, all right, we had fun on Friday, a little indecision, surprise, and now we're priced it in. Okay. This market has a super amount of momentum now. People who are not in are going to look to get in, right? People who said, oh my God, the crash was coming, I was in cash, they're going to look to get in. Okay. And I think we probably have a good chance of moving sideways today. So of course, it's Monday. And who knows what's going to come out. Okay. That's your hourlies. Let's move over to the market profile, volume profile now. So here's your market profile, volume profile. Alrighty. Let's just look at this real quickly. You can see the most traded price hasn't moved up here yet, but it probably will. The 7161s, it's still at 7060. Okay. See the profile. You have some excess here, right? And you're at the top of the overnight session. And you do have some single prints from the session on Friday. Okay. So this looks like a whole lot of lollygag, right? I was curious too, just as probably anybody on the Sunday night open. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, yeah, we opened, pushed down, and then it just recovered. Okay, it just recovered. All right, now let's get into the ES long and short trade scenarios, and we're going to mark off some levels here. I might have to open up this as well. Okay, so we're going to mark off that new week opening gap here, 7150s. That might be a bullseye that the market has its eyes on. Okay. Then we have our demand that starts at 71.14. Okay, we have demand that also starts at 70.93 that we pumped it, we went right into and bounced out of. Okay, now coincidentally, this little new week opening gap is the 50% retracement 71.50 150 on Friday. So we'll have to see what happens here. Okay, so right off the bat, let's get into some scenarios here. What I can see happen, right? Now, I'm hoping I get a pullback. So it could go right to here, but then I'm not going to trade that. Okay. What I would like to see is an attempt to move higher, fail, okay, fail, and come down into Friday's lows in this demand zone. If you get some support here, boom, and then you get a higher low, your target's going to be the 71.50s. That's that new week opening gap and the 50% retracement of Friday's session. Now, you do have a nice consolidation here. You probably don't rip through that, but you possibly can do something like this. Pull back to the most traded price, 71.61s, and try to tag last week's highs, which is Friday's highs. Okay? Even if we get a deeper pullback. So scenario number 2 for the long. If you get a deeper pullback, okay, right back into that 71.93 demand zone, it's a more powerful demand. Okay, and then look what's there, the gap fill. The gap fill that was left on Friday morning. Okay, right in here, if you got some support as well, a lower high, that's also a long. You look to tag the overnight highs and then go for that 71.50. Okay, for me, that's the longs. Now, another level that's kind of important here would be around the 71.16s right before that demand. That's the most traded price of the overnight. Just be weary of that too. Sometimes that gets support as well. Okay, shorts. All right. So, the one short that I think you could get is if we do gap and go. So let's say the market opens up and drives higher right into that new week opening gap. Right in there, right? And let's say it just slams its head into the 71.61, the most traded price of Friday, and then you get rejected. And then you get a lower high. Okay? It might even retest here, that 71.61s. And let's say the market is neutral, right? Internals are not strong, they're not weak. You can get here. And I would say you target that 71.15 area, this demand zone. Okay, that would be a pretty decent trade. Now, do you get more? I don't know. Maybe you go for that gap fill, that 70.89s. Honestly, right now for pre-market, that's all I'm interested in. Okay, I'm not too keen on shorts in this area that we are. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, moving on to NASDAQ. Alrighty, so this is our NASDAQ. Let's open these sessions up. Remember, this market profile is just 30-minute bars. That's all it is. Okay, you can see that new week opening gap almost filled. Okay, so a different story in the NASDAQ. So let's get into the NASDAQ long and short trade scenarios right now. So 50% retracement. Right there at 26757. A Friday. New week opening gap right there. So that's probably clear in the sights of the markets. And you have now like a Porsche high in the profile, an equal high if you want ICT right here that's begging to get broken. Okay. So now that I'm seeing that, it's giving me a game plan. We do have the most traded price of Friday in the week in the close. Let's call it 26840s, which is right here. Okay. Now, just the way this market's set up, it's not the easiest one. Okay. Not at all. All right. So let's get right into scenarios now. I think I put that up already. Let's get right into scenarios, and we're going to start off with the longs. Okay, so right off the bat, what I want in NASDAQ, right, because this area is almost filled, I want to pull back. So what I would like to get is a drive lower, right? Sweep these lows around the 266s. Okay, right here. Sweep them. Okay. Now, this is very crucial. There's a gap. There's an unfilled gap here. All right. Now, support in the gap is bullish. So around the 266s, if you get support here after sweeping and you come back in, put in a higher low, you're going to target the overnight highs and try to get into the side to fill that gap. Okay? I don't think the move higher is easy. So you might just work your way up to that 26840s. Do we hit the all-time highs on Friday nights? I don't know. Now, I'm even up for a quick drive lower, even more than that, fill the gap, but now you're going into a double demand zone. Okay? So you have demands at 26568s, and then the daily demand closer to that daily demand is 26540s right there. So any pullback into that with I want this quick. I don't want to mosey down here. I want it quick. You touch into those demand zones and you get support, you get that higher low, fire off, go right for that overnight high 26731s and try to fill that gap, right? And then target that 26840s. I don't know what we get today, but that's what I like for longs. And shorts, okay, shorts. What are we going to look at? I'm really not a fan of it on this chart, but there is some potential. So what would I want to see, right? Well, if we do fill that gap right here and fail, you put a lower high in. Purple one. Yeah. So then what I said, you fill that. So around the 26757s, you get rejected. You put a lower high in. Then you could take off right here. You'd probably try to fill that gap at 26562s. That's probably a decent trade. Now, that also another one here could be, I would want a quick open drive higher up into the 26840s, right? And let's say it moves up, rejects it, retests it. You short it here, and you try to target again the you could go for the gap fill 26562s or this 265s. Okay. Like I said, I am not a fan too much of shorts today. What I'm seeing, obviously, if the market opens up and I feel like there's something there, what develops, then that's different. Okay. So now that's the long and short trade scenarios. Now, my overall market look. Okay. We just had a record recovery, the fastest in 40 years. Then we have a weekend where ceasefire violations have happened, and now the ceasefire agreement is up in the air. We know this, right? But now the market knows this, and we gapped down Sunday night and have since recovered. So this is a mini pricing in, right? There's a lot of bullish momentum. A lot of people probably didn't get in this move. Okay, and if we were down, like still gapped down, I'd be like, whoa, all right, market's really scared now. Okay, so I still think you have to lean on the long side today. I don't see much short setups that are like, whoa, this is a really nice setup. Okay, until we see something, I'm going to lean to the bull side. All right, it's Monday. I think with this indecisiveness in the market, we're going to have probably a range-bound day with that news, right? It's kind of put a dampening on a little bit of this momentum. Again, could we just be a rocket ship and move higher? Of course, because the market can do things that you never think it's capable of. But I think today might be the range day. Okay? We'll have to see. We're pushing up higher even as we speak, so we have to see. Okay? So that's my analysis. Now, hopefully you liked it, and you can smash that like button. That would help me out. a lot. Okay. Now, as always, hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert, give you the market story and economic calendar. Neither is any laggards. Technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq futures. Okay. If you want to have more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay. Let me be your indicator. Now, today's Monday. It doesn't mean I don't trade. I just know that Mondays are Mondays in trading. You have to digest what happened over the weekend, and this market just told you, yeah, guess what? We're not going down yet. Okay? So, I wish everybody a great day. All right? Now remember, no trade is a trade. Hopefully everyone has a process and they follow it, and that's a win every day. Okay? So, hopefully I see you on my Discord. I should be going live around 9:50 a.m. So, welcome to join me, ask questions. All right? If I don't see you there, I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. All right, everybody. Take it easy.